Hello everyone, this is Mira Kalapan Angala from Group 6 and today we shall be discussing to you two chapters. And these are Chapter 11, which is all about tests, registration and mechanical devices, and Chapter 12, which is all about sampling. As for the topics in Chapter 11, those will be discussed by Ms. Claire Prospero, Ms. Jessamine Tubog, and Ms. Rachel Larusa. And as for the topics in Chapter 12, those will be discussed by Ms. Jessamine Melanchon, Ms. Bert Aquino, and yours truly. Enjoy and learn.
The classification of tests for research purposes is divided into two. First is according to standardization, and second is according to purpose. Now this time, according to standardization, it is divided into two again, which are the standard tests and the non-standard tests. According to standard test, or also called as standardized test, it is one of which content has been selected and checked empirically, for which norms have been established, and uniform methods of administration and scoring have been developed, which may be scored with a high degree of objectivity. In addition to that, standard tests are prepared very carefully by specialists, following certain principles of test construction and given to a large number of individuals for the establishment of norms, and it is to be used for a long time with the group in which it is intended for. Therefore, this kind of test has its stability because it is stable to be able to be performed and used for a very long time in a huge number of individuals. So examples are intelligence tests, aptitude tests, personality tests, and interest inventories. So for instance, an intelligence test is made for high school students. This test may be used for a long time for high school students, but it cannot be used for other groups of people. Standard tests are especially useful in psychological studies. They are used to determine the personality characteristics of people, such as intelligence, aptitudes, interests, achievement, mental abilities, and etc. They are useful especially in individual in case studies. Now we have here the second, which is the non-standard tests. So non-standard tests, as the name indicates, are not standardized. They are usually prepared by teachers to measure the achievements of their students or pupils in the subjects they are teaching for making and promotion purposes. So some examples of non-standardized tests or teacher-made tests are essay examinations and objective tests such as true or false, fill in the blanks, multiple choice, matching, labeling, and etc. And now let's proceed to according to function. So in according to function, we have here the psychological tests and the educational tests. So in psychological tests, it is a type of test that measures an individual's ability or personality as developed by general experience. Psychological tests are standardized, and that there are types of psychological tests. There are 4 of them: the intelligence tests, aptitude tests, personality tests, and vocational and professional interest inventory. So in this case, let's go to intelligence tests. In intelligence tests, this is a composite test that made of parts that have been found to correlate well with some practical measure of intellectual ability, such as success in school. Usually this is called an IQ test, and it measures general mental ability. The second one is the aptitude tests. This is a test designed to indicate a person's potential ability or performance of a certain type of activity. Examples are musical aptitude tests, prognostic tests, scholastic aptitude tests, mechanical aptitude tests, and etc. These tests measures usually talent or ability. The third one rather, is the personality tests. Well, in this case, this is designed to measure some aspect of an individual's personality. So there are types of personality tests, 3 of them. The first one is rating scale, second is personality inventory, and the third is projective tests. So in rating scale, it is a measure used in evaluating products, attitudes, or other characteristics of instructors or learners. The usual form is evaluation carrying some suggestive points for checking. This next one is personality inventory. This is a measuring device for determining an individual's personal characteristics, such as his emotional adjustment or tendencies toward introversion or extroversion. Either he or she is outgoing or the otherwise. It may be arranged for self-rating or for rating by other people or other persons. So this test also measures the dominance and the submissive ones. And the last type of personality test is the projective tests. Well, this is a method of measurement of an individual's personality in which the stimulus is usually unstructured and produces responses reflecting the person's individuality. This test has its example. The Rorschach test, consisting of ink blots, is an example. The subject interprets the ink blots and his interpretation reveals his personality. Another example is the thematic perception tests, consisting of standardized picture to one another. This subject interprets the pictures of his interpretations, and his interpretations will reveal his values, his motives, and the other aspect of his personality. And so we are here in the fourth type of psychological test, which is the vocational and professional interest inventory. Well, this is a test used to determine the extent to which a person's likes, dislikes, and relate to a given vocation or profession. This test reveals in what type of work a person is interested in and whether it is business, teaching, medicine, mechanic, and etc. And then we have here the second type of according to function, which is the educational tests. Well, this is in other term called an achievement test, which aims to measure a person's knowledge, skills, ability, understanding, and other outcomes in subjects taught in school. These tests may be standardized or teacher-made, and examples of these are mathematics, English, science, and etc.
Good day guys, for today I will tackle about the characteristic of the test. So first is validity, second reliability, third usability. So the first one is validity. Validity refers to how accurate a test measures what it aims to measure. So some criteria to determine the validity of the test are: the first one is the tests are taken from the subject of the test. Second, it must be correlate highly with a similar test of already known validity. And third, it must be able to predict performance of individuals in the same subject. And fourth, the test must be able to place an individual in a group to which he or she really belongs. Second is reliability. Reliability. A test is reliable if its data are adequate, objective, which means that scores are the same no matter who will score it at different times, and the procedure in administering the test must be the same always. In short, the reliability is all about the consistency of a measure. So the third one is usability. Usability, a test is usable. It is easy to administer, easy to score, and economical and usable for the purpose it is intended to perform. And Also, usability is a quality attribute that assesses how easy user interfaces are to use. The word usability also refers to methods for improving ease of use during the design process. Next is advantages of standard tests. So the first one is standard tests are generally valid and reliable. Second, standard tests are accompanied by manuals of instruction concerning their administration and scoring. Third, standard tests are provided with norms with which the test results are compared and given meaning. And fourth, standard tests can be used again and again provided they are not given to the same group twice or more. Fifth, standard tests provide a comprehensive coverage of the basic knowledge, skills, abilities, and other traits that are generally essential. Advantages of standard tests also, it can help identify problem areas in individual students as well as schools and curriculums. It provides guidelines for curriculum and for example, standard tests also give teachers a structure of what needs to be taught. This helps keep the classroom material consistent across the country. There's limitation of standard tests. First, contents may not fully correspond to the expected outcomes of the instructional objectives of a particular school, course, or subject. Second, standard tests may not be able to measure the ability to explain, contrast, and organize one's ideas. Third, standard tests of the right kind purpose may be hard to find, and it is also included to be easy to grade. Tests often cannot measure higher order thinking.
Good day, everyone. My name is Rachel B. Dilusa from BS Psychology 3B. And now we will be tackle about the tests as sources of research data. Tests as sources of research data. Generally, only standard tests are used to gather data in research because of their validity, the reliability, and the usability. Non-standard tests usually do not have such characteristics. Hence, it is not used in research except when one wants to find out the levels of achievement of a certain group in a certain subject. For example, a teacher in geometry wants to find out the level of achievement of his student in geometry. The teacher administers to his student a standard test in geometry and his own teacher-made test. After then, he compares the result. If the two sets of scores correlate highly, the level of the achievement of the student is all right. But if the great disparity is there, the scores must be something amiss in the instructional process. Standard tests are very useful in research in psychology and in psychiatry, particularly in individual case study. In research concerning emotional maladjustment, standard tests are extensive and intensive utilized. Results from standard tests usually form part of the cumulative records of the individual cases. While standard achievement tests in different subjects are often used in school surveys, to determine the levels of the achievement of the pupils or the student in the municipal, in districts, in division, or national level, as the case may vary. Registration in research. Registration in research, as a word, registration is a process of listing down items of the same kind or some systematic manner for record purposes. Registered matter may be classified as alphabetically, chronologically, qualitatively, and quantitatively. For example, the student may be listed down alphabetically, like A to Z. For example, Atop to Zorelia, it classifies as alphabetically. And chronologically is classified as by years. It's first year, second year, third year, fourth year, or fifth year. Then, qualitative is classified by course. It can be Bachelor of Science in Psychology, Bachelor of Science in Tourism Management, Bachelor of Science in Office Administration, and so on. And quantitatively is classified as by listing down first the course with the highest enrollment, followed by the course with the second highest enrollment, and so on. For purposes of research, the following are very rich sources of data or information. First is the Bureau of Census and Statistics. For all almost kind of data about population, housing, industry, and trade they have the source of data of it. The Land Transportation Commission. For all kinds of vehicles like cars, trucks, motorcycles, and jeeps, they have. The Department of Education, Culture, and Sports also, where all enrollments and graduates are recorded. It can be public or private schools or colleges and universities. They have also the information or sources of data. The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court and all lower courts of justice where records of the judicial cases are being kept, and all the agencies of police and offices where all the criminal cases are being recorded. Also the Bureau of Health, where all the births, deaths, and pathological cases are being registered. Then, the Securities and Exchange Commission, where all trade, industrial, and commercial establishments and other organization, profit or non-profit organization are registered. Then, lastly, all other departments, offices, entities of the government, and private organization where different kinds and classes of data and information are registered also. So now let's move on to the mechanical devices. Mechanical devices for research may be classified according to the area of research where they are utilized. The areas of research where mechanical devices for gathering data may be used are the following. First is the social and educational research. The mechanical devices that may be used to help gather data in observation and interview are the camera, projector, tape recorder, the videotape, the audio recorder, and others. The reader is referred back to the section of recording by mechanical devices that what has been observed and what transpires in an interview. The second is the biological and medical research. The most example are the microscope, X-ray machine, ultrasound machine, and other sophisticated gadgets. The third is the physical science research. There are machines that measure energy or force, gas pressure, liquid pressure, electrical energy, and etc. Chemical science research is similar to medical research, particularly in drug research for the cure of the ailments like cancer. Weighing scale are example. Then, the next is the astronomy, space, atmospheric research. Example of these are telescope and the barometer. Telescope is in studying the stars and space, and the barometer is in studying the atmosphere. And lastly, there are countless gadgets and machines used to study almost anything in the universe. The list cannot be exhaustive. The advance of science and technology is such that not hundreds but thousands of sophisticated mechanical tools and instruments have been invented to gather data for research purposes. Thank you for watching and listening to this topic.
Good day everyone, this is Jessie and we are now on chapter 12, which mainly talks about sampling. So before anything else, let us define what sampling is all about. So as what you can see on your screen, it says, sampling may be defined as measuring a small portion of something and then making a general statement about the whole thing. So basically, sampling allows the researchers to obtain enough data without having to query the entire population. So which means that researchers intend to just pick up small portions of the whole population. And with that small portion, there will be the making of the general statement that is useful for the study. Now let us move on to the purposes and advantages of sampling. First, sampling makes possible the study of large, heterogeneous population. When we say heterogeneous population, this includes differences in characteristics of human, a person to person, or what their interests are. So yeah, studying a whole population is too large. Like there is a possibility that everyone cannot be catered. But by sampling, having to have different characteristics of people included in the study would be narrowed down. This would make the research or the study more specific, certain, and concrete. Second, sampling is for economy. Sampling reduces the study population to a reasonable size, and the expenses are greatly reduced. So sampling is for economy. Why is sampling for economy? It is because by sampling or with sampling, you doing the research or you doing the study can cost less. Because we all know that having a research is so expensive. We have to do this, we have to do that, we have to pay for this, we have to pay for that. But with sampling, you can minimize of your expenses because this doesn't take many amount because you have selected certain portions only, not the whole population. And I guess it is understandable. Third, sampling is for speed. Sampling enables the research to be achieved fast. Yeah, I agree with this, that research or sampling enables the research to achieve fast because I believe that with sampling, we can do the research more efficiently and fast. Like something is for speed. If we don't use or if we don't consider sampling, there would be very long-lasting research to be done because sampling enables us to make our research more not lengthy and is like not time consuming per se. Yeah. Fourth, sampling is for accuracy. Inaccuracy may occur if there is no sampling because it negotiates proper time to gather the data, no failures. So why is sampling accurate? It is because with sampling, your portions or your desired outcome can be achieved because you have this certain number of respondents or a certain number of participants that will be included in your study. And without sampling, like for example, let's put it in an example, like you are studying the economy of the Philippines, of the whole province of the Philippines. They're included the Luzon provinces, Visayas provinces, and Mindanao provinces. But the researcher does not achieve the whole population or the whole provinces. So what he or she did is like she altered the data. That makes it inaccurate. And it is not supposed to be. So that is why sampling is for accuracy. Fifth, sampling saves the sources of data from being all consumed. So without sampling, there could be a possibility that all the data could be exposed directly. Not until you use sampling, your data and sources would be minimal. Like you have to save your information for your conclusions and for your other parts of your research. Yeah, and there is a tendency that without sampling, you could like simply pour out informations that don't need to be in it. You understand? Like there could be a tendency that without sampling, the researchers could not identify what are the things that to be imposed for further discussions for the next parts of your research. And that is so insufficient. That is why sampling is needed, because it saves sources of data from being all consumed. Now let us proceed to the sampling concepts and terminologies that we should remember. First is element. A person or a group of people can be called an element if they are part in a population where the researchers intend to select to who among them are to be included in the sample. As what you can see in the screen, element can be members of the population. They could be certain types of people, families, social clubs, and the like. Next is population. The theoretical specific aggregation of elements. Aggregation meaning cluster of the elements. When we say population, it includes everything. It is a whole. There, like for example, in a university, there are students, teachers, janitors, deans, everything. Everything or everyone that it is in the university is part of the population. Alongside, population is so-called the universe. As what I have said earlier, population includes everything and population is a whole. Third is study population. A study population is that aggregation of elements from which the sample is actually selected. So what is the difference between a population and a study population? So in a population, there includes everything, right? But in population, there aren't still concrete or final people that should be included as the sample. While in the study population, the element that they have chosen is actually the fixed sample that they have to be included, and they have already selected. Fourth is sample. Sample is basically the people who are actually selected to participate or to be the subject in the study. Like for example, my study is all about fashion styles of high schoolers. So the sample there are those students who are like into fashion. Yeah, something like that. Fifth is sampling unit. They said that it is an element or set of elements considered for selection in some stage of sampling. So technically, sampling unit or sampling units are members of the population to which measurements are taken during the sampling. Next, sampling frame. This is the actual list of sampling units from which the sample or some stage of the sample is selected. So again, it is the actual list of sampling units. So like for instance, I am trying to get data from the school of the students' math grades. So from having permitted by the school principal, I scanned and see their grading sheets or the students' grading sheets. So the grading sheets there is the sampling frame. You understand? Grading sheets. Because the grading sheets includes all the actual list of the sampling units. Next is observation unit. So observation unit is basically the respondents, the ones who are going to answer what the interviewer or what the researchers have given to them, like for example, questionnaire. Like the respondents or the observation unit were the ones to like answer it, and we, the researchers, could like gather the data. Next is variable. Variable is a set of exclusive attributes, like for example, sex, age, employment, status, and everything. It can also be a phenomenon to which you try to measure in some ways. Next is parameter. Parameter is the summary description of a given variable in a population. Again, it is the summary description. So like for example, I am studying on what is the average age of all the people in the city. So the mean average of all the people in the city is said to be the parameter because it is a summary description. So when we say summary description, it is like the concrete result or the concrete output that you are looking for. So the mean age of all the people in the city. Understand? Yeah. And next is statistics. We all know that statistics is all about computations, right? And I believe that psych students have psychological statistics. Yeah. It is defined as the summary description of a given variable in a sample. And having statistics, this estimates population of the parameter. Sampling error is the degree of error of a sample statistics when compared with a population parameter. So sampling error is like a deviation of a sampled value versus the true population value due to the fact that the sample is not biased at all and is not representative. So like for instance, our population mean is 80 and our sample mean is 40. Well then, the sampling error there is 40. And we should remember, and we should always remember that the maximum acceptable sampling error is 5%. Next is representative sampling. When we say representative sampling, it is said that the sample is a representative of the population which has been selected because all the people in that population has equal chances to be selected as a sample. Do you get me? I hope you do. Second to the last terminology is the confidence level. This is the degree of confidence that a sample statistic will accurately fall within a certain or specified interval from the population parameter. So this is expressed in percentage, and the common confidence level used is 95%. Confidence level is actually a computation also. There is also a computation for confidence interval. This can help you make sure if your study is really confident as it is. The last but not the least sampling concept or terminology that I will be discussing is the sampling stratum. This is defined and described as a group, a section or category of elements from which selection is made in some stage of sampling. So basically, the researchers will divide the whole population into smaller groups. This is termed as a strata. After the division, the researchers would randomly select the samples proportionally. Let's move on to the principles of sampling.